Let's pivot a little bit and let's talk a little bit about ketone salts and esters, because Ketone IQ, the product that we've been talking about that I take fasted, is an ester. That has come such a long way. So the reason why we're having this conversation, Chris Irving messaged me. He's like, "You got to try this product. Have you ever had ketone esters before?" I'm like, "Yes," and I hate them. I'm not interested. Like, I don't like the taste of them. It tastes like acid. And he's like, "No, I promise they're amazing." And so he sent me a bottle, and I was like, "Oh, actually, this is really great," because when I first tried them, I don't know when it was, maybe 16, 17, something like that. It felt like I was drinking like battery acid. Like I couldn't get it down.
That's
it was
probably our stuff.
awful. It was awful. So let's talk a little bit about the evolution. Actually, before we do that, let's talk about what a ketone salt is and what an ester is. So let's talk about beta hydroxybutyrate, and they're bonded with an electrolyte. Like explain to us what it is.
Yeah. Let's go. Okay, so when you're looking at your blood ketone levels, the main thing that you're looking at is blood BHB, beta hydroxybutyrate. So if you get a blood ketone meter off of Amazon, you're measuring your ketone levels, you're measuring your blood BHB, and that's how you measure, am I in ketosis or not, or how high am I ketone levels? Am I at 0.5, 1.2? Like we're talking about BHB there. Okay, so with ketone salts, what you have is a BHB molecule that is bounded to a salt molecule. So it can be sodium, magnesium, potassium. So you have these like different types of salts in the chemistry sense that are bounded to a BHB. What's interesting about that process is it's very cheap to manufacture. So this is like, these have been on the market for a little while. They're very cheap, and the main drawback on them is that they don't elevate your ketones that much, because for every ketone you're having a molecule of salt. It's like with coffee, it's like if every molecule of caffeine was bounded to a molecule of salt. It's like, whoa, I'm drinking a lot of salt over here. Like it's hard to drink that much salt without getting GI issues. Like you just have an upset stomach, and that salt bond itself just like slows down the uptake. So it's I think of salts as kind of the cheap and dirty way to get an exogenous ketone. Like there is a ketone in there, it kind of works, but it's not really. It doesn't elevate your ketones that much. It's hard to get above like 1.0 millimole with a salt. I don't know if it's possible. With the breakthrough, so like the US DOD is not like working with salts, because like they're not interesting levels of ketone elevation. What the breakthrough was for us, so in 2017 we launched the world's first ketone ester, where we made an ester of two different things. So there's BHB and there's something very similar called BDO, which converts right away into BHB. So like two nearly identical things that you can like esterify together, basically glue together. We launched that in 2017 and got our big contract with the DoD. We're running it. It tasted terrible. We learned a lot along the way around just the performance profile, the taste, and we learned a lot. And it was also very expensive to make it that way. And then the light bulb went off where we realized that actually, like as I was saying, that this ester that we had in our V1, it was a BHB plus a BDO. We started looking specifically at just the BDO component, and we actually just isolated that, and that has become the anchor now for our V2. You might ask, okay, why don't you just drink just the BHB? The BHB is extremely acidic, so you can't just drink straight BHB. It's too acidic. You won't be able to have much of it at all. But BDO itself is really interesting. We actually like it better than our V1 ester because it has a better PK curve to it. So it's like less of a intense spike in ketones. You get the same amount of ketones, but it's a gentler curve. Like you basically spend more time with elevated ketones, much more palatable, and we brought down the price significantly. So we're now able to like have it in grocery stores and stuff for under $5 a shot, versus our first version was the crazy stuff that you tasted, which probably cost you $33 for the experience of tasting something insane. So we've basically been working with the DoD and with our other elite operators, as well as just at this point, I think people got the message that like we are broadening this out. This is not just this elite Navy SEAL juice. Like as we've been getting this into the market, we've just been listening to people and what do they want and what is a performance profile people are really after, taste, cost, ideal PK curve, pharmacokinetic curve, like what do people want for different performance cases. And so it was really exciting. In January of this year, we launched V2, which checks a lot of the boxes that we had learned along the way. And it's been doing great. We've been, it's opened up a new window where I would say for the past several years, we've been in science fair project mode, like working with research scientists, working with biohackers, super elite performers, to now it's like, hey, we're in like grocery stores, we're selling on Amazon, we're just out there. And we are, the idea was never for ketones to just be like stuck in a lab for super high performers, but we wanted to get it out there the way that, collagen, you can go to the store and you can just buy collagen, or you can buy CBD, like these other nutritional primitives. It's like ketones are cool. We're all doing metabolism all of the time. We should all have access to this tool in our toolkit for the various things that we're trying to do. Whether we're
so irrespective if you're a Navy SEAL, like you can be a Navy SEAL, but you can also be, we're talking about this in pre-chat, you can also be a house mom who's just trying to like have enough energy to take care of her kids and get, the things done that she needs to get done in her everyday life. And both of those two, let's say, cohorts can benefit from ketone supplementation.
Exactly. It's like protein, right? Like, do you need to be Arnold Schwarzenegger to have protein? Like, it's like, no, like a normal person should just eat more protein because we're all made out of muscle, right? So like there's certain, the analogies, I like the way you said it. It's like the different cohorts, they're still doing the same fundamental things. They have different endpoints in mind, but like, I don't know, my mom takes protein and because she's older and she wants to make sure she has good muscle strength through old age. So, okay, like she's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but she still has muscles, so she's going to have protein. And it sounds like you advocate a lot and with your community here that people know, like, okay, I should have more protein in my diet. Again, whether we were talking about this in the pre-chat, like you might not even necessarily be trying to get jacked. It's harder to get super jacked than you think. Like going to the gym and lifting heavy a few times a week and eating enough protein in your diet, not going to get you looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like probably not. Like you should be so lucky if you are. Like you maybe got the genetic lottery. But in general, we should all be eating more protein. All be using our muscles. We should be thinking the same way about metabolic health. Like, okay, how do I use my metabolism better? How do I fuel it with better things rather than worse things?
So you were saying that ketone salts will probably get you to about 1 millimolar. Is there an estimate, and with like a very acute, let's say, area under the curve, or very acute rise in ketones, and then I would say probably also just as quickly a fall in that. Is there an estimate when we're taking an ester?
Yeah. So
you don't even know if we can get to 1 millimole with salt.
With salt, I think like you're good if I see salts going above like 0.5, but I don't think it's easy to hit 1.0 without getting stomach upset on the way. So for ours, like we get you to like, it depends how much you take. That's one of the interesting things to do.
So let's say it's one shot, like the 10 mils, which is one serving size.
Yeah. 10 will get you to 1, and then you can have multiple shots. So it depends what you're going is for. If you're just trying to like jam at your desk, like work on stuff, like 1 10-gram shot is nice. If you're Navy SEAL, Ironman, we say like, okay, well, let's look at different dose protocols, like 0.5 grams per kilogram of body weight to where someone's having like 2-3 shots. And the idea then is that, okay, well, if you explicitly want to get above 2.0 millimole and hang on there, then having a couple of shots or re-upping along the way starts making sense. So there's got a lot of like flexibility to it, where like one shot is nice for just kind of casual energy boost, appetite suppression. But if you're trying to go like max out your 15-mile run, then it starts making sense to have more. Just like with all your other energy sources too. Like the way to use it around a run or workout is basically like whenever you're taking a snack, a goo shot or whatever, whenever you're like taking the other fuel that you are taking in for your bike ride or your run, like have about a third of it as ketones. So if you're having if you're having a snack bar, like, or you have like a water that has some sort of energy inside of it, maybe it's a carb mix inside of it, like have 1/3 of the calories being from ketones as well. And then you have this like blended approach. That's what our like Tour de France rider protocol would be.
So if you're an athlete, we're looking at 0.5, did you say grams per kg?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then if you're,
that's like the Navy SEAL protocol. That's like
So that's like that would be super physiologic for someone like myself, who, like you're saying, is looking for a little bit of an energy boost. Didn't sleep really well last night, but I have something in the gym that I have to get done. Like, I took I think it was about, maybe it was like one and a half shots this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be, do we see, when we're looking at, let's say, the area under the curve for someone taking an ester versus a salt, is there an ideal target that you would be, let's say, when you're using exogenous ketones to hit, and does that change for women? Or are we just looking at this purely from a mass perspective and performance?
It depends what the performance outcome goal is. Like if you are trying to recover, if you're Tour de France rider, okay, like then I would say take more so that you are able to get to 2.0 millimole. So you're able to really accelerate the muscle protein resynthesis, muscle glycogen reuptake. That protocol starts making more sense. Again, if you're just the average casual person, you can almost go off of feel. It's like, okay, I feel good off of 1 shot or 1.5 shots or half a shot. Like I know how that makes me feel. For a lot of the data here is like just gender agnostic. What I would say for women, it sounds like you are more dialed in than me on like specific nutritional differences with men and women. One thing is, I know that like cortisol spikes during fasting is a major concern, or like something that comes up a lot, as well as how that maybe overlays with menstrual cycle. And one thing that we have seen is that ketones reduce stress response. That's part of what goes on with those highly trained cyclists, is that like they have less of a stress response when they have ketones. So I think there's something interesting there where if we're concerned about like fasting spiking cortisol levels, that ketones could be interesting there. But I don't want to overspeak what I know. It sounds like you actually know a lot about kind of the cycles that you want to optimize for women, how that might deviate from what's like recommended for males, or unfortunately is recommended, is like, it seems like a lot of the standard recommendations is like male dominant. Doesn't sound fair to me, but
yeah, I mean, it's getting better, but I would say that you're kind of right on the money there. It seems that a lot of the research is predominantly done on men, and it's like, well, women are kind of smaller archetypes of men. They just have like these pesky hormones, so we'll just like kind of titrate that. That's sort of generally what we see, and it may be ketone research. Even though I know that ketone bodies and the keto diet, let's say, has been around for many years, and 1,3-butane-diol has been around since, I don't know, maybe the 50s or something. I know that these compounds have been around for a long time, but still relatively, I would say, in its infancy. So we, to find some of to tease apart some of the nuances in sex differences, maybe a little bit early, but just wondering if there was any observations that you may have had. But it sounds like, when we're thinking about ketone supplementation, we want to be thinking about, what are we using it for, right? Because even if you're getting to, let's say, 2 millimolar, that's still energy, right? Like you were saying, it has to. So what are we using it for? Are you going to be working out? Are you going to be moving? Or are you just, is it just like having a donut and sitting down? Like your body's going to have to assimilate and do something with that energy as well.